Hello world of YouTube and welcome to a new segment on the channel that I've been wanting to do for a while now, but instead of stemming from something I've been doing on Rate Your Music, it's stemming from something that I've been doing on Spotify. And this is something I've been talking about on Twitter for a while now, and it's something that I know the internet does in some ways. It's looking at albums that are fundamentally okay, but are a little messed up in its pacing, its length. You know, it's just in need of a good redaction. And that's why I am calling this segment Redacted. And on this first episode of this segment, I'm going to be tackling an album that I was extremely excited for last year, but ended up being a little let down by, and that's the comeback record from the animated British band Gorillaz, Humanz.
Are we just too far to be as one again? Are we obsidian? Is this how it ends? Yeah, your life will turn.
Now, obviously, a big component of this show will be taking albums that are a little too long and trimming them down. But I do think that there are some records, and I found a couple, that can be improved by adding some B-sides, taking some of the A-sides out, and it makes a better listening experience. Humanz is not that case. And why I picked Humanz for the first episode of this segment is because I've talked about it on the channel already. I kind of teased it in my video where I talked about the Now. I've talked about doing a video on Humanz, and this is that video. I looked at that track listing and I thought, Jesus, that is a bit much, even from a visual standpoint, which is surprising to me because, you know, the Gorillaz have never made an album that kind of breezes by with its runtime outside of the Now, but I think that's a strength of that record in general. A big critical flaw with Humanz is not only that it's just a lot of tracks, there's a lot of nothing in some of these tracks. The fact that there's like 5 interludes is why? None of them serve a purpose. This album is trying to be a pseudo-concept record, and I feel like it doesn't nail itself down at all. So I have to abandon that when reorganizing this album and remixing it and stuff. I think the tail end is abysmal. A lot of the tail end of this record does not work at all. I think there's some good songs in there, but as you'll see with the final track listing, there's a lot of the front end. The front half of the record is represented a lot better than the back half. I do keep some crucial songs in the back half that some people have issues with, but I feel like they play well in the pacing of the album in general, even if they don't come together conceptually in the grand story this album is trying to tell. I think there's a couple of tracks in the tail end that help with the energy, the movement of the record, and they bring the album, especially in one instance, to a close that mirrors the opening. Now, the final track listing I have for this album is 11 songs, but I kept the intro. You can really lose the intro, and it's kind of a stronger listening experience even more. But that's kind of where, however you want to listen to it. These are the 10 songs I decided to keep.
Into the tomb of Jehovah, play my Grandma draw me. Know a few Popcaan songs, so I feel them know me. 4 mile me. But don't go too far, my love. Momentz. Mavis, oh mama, they try my patience. Is gone, who is left to say? But all our dreams, and thank you.
Video inconsistencies. I've got a haircut and shaved now. Why? In the editing bay, looking back on the footage on this part of the video, I didn't really like my description as to why I picked the tracks I did, what my idea for the album rearranging was supposed to be, so I'm reshooting it. Hopefully this makes a little more sense than what I was trying to convey earlier, because this is the meatier part of the video. This is the part of the video I was having problems eloquently speaking on, because I could just make the playlist and show it to you, but I wanted to tell you why, what reason why I did this for. And I kept these 10 songs because I think they represent both styles the album's aiming for the best. You know, you have these very kinetic, dancier driven cuts, and you have these more ambient driven cuts that don't necessarily lose their percussion or their roots in energy. It's just at a slower pace. I also started with Ascension and ended with Hallelujah Money because they give the record two very definitive bookends. Ascension kicks down the door and starts its groove, and while Hallelujah Money kind of lulls you down, it ends on a very punctuated note. And I liked that. I thought it was nice symmetry to have in the record. There's also other symmetry going on as to why I arranged the tracks I did. There's a certain type of track in the first half that's kind of represented in the second half as well. You have your Momentz that's kind of like Charger, your Andromeda that's kind of like Submission, you know, Saturn Barz is kind of like Hear Me Out, you know what I mean? There's kind of a weird symmetry going on, only the first half is where a lot of the energy lies, and the energy kind of winds down in bursts on the second half of the record. I like this kind of ebb and flow kinetic energy. That's why I kept Ascension, Strobelite, and Saturn Barz where they were, because I think they exemplify that perfectly while continuing the momentum a little bit more until it starts to lull down. Submission kind of carries the energy from Saturn Barz and builds it up a little more, or it builds up even more into Momentz before Busted in Blue happens, and it kind of winds down before Andromeda kind of winds it back up again, and Charger ramps up the energy with the punctuated guitars without really building a faster pace. That Let Me Out kind of lets dwindle down a little bit before it dwindles out a little more with Hallelujah Money. It's like putting a ball on a half pipe. It's going to slowly get itself into the middle where it'll kind of dwindle out. You know what I mean? And somebody picks it up again. Now, like I said, I threw the kind of pseudo concept out the window. It's there in bursts still because, well, it's a Gorillaz album. There's lyrical allegories and imagery all throughout, but I think it's less scatterbrained with these 10 tracks than it was on the initial release. This is more akin to the style that's presented on Plastic Beach and the Now Now. It still has a little bit of tonal whiplash because, well, it's impossible to fix that if it's there in the record in such large quantities, but I tried to tone it back and make it a little better of a listening experience for the listener to enjoy. And yeah, like I said, this 10 tracks, it's a tighter 10 tracks than anything that's on Humanz. I think this boosts the album up to a much higher quality, and that's kind of my piece on it, you know? I tried to fix what I could as far as the bonus tracks are concerned. 4 of them are okay. I don't know if I'd throw them into this. I'd let them be bonus tracks. If you wanted what I would say is the definitive version of Humanz to listen to, or what I would consider a better arrangement of the album than the initial arrangement, feel free to listen to it. I'll have it linked down in the description, both a Spotify playlist and a YouTube playlist. Obviously, if you have critical issues with Humanz that extend past just its track arrangement, this might not win you over, but it might. Who's to say? I think this is more for those that saw a good album in Humanz and wanted something more. That's why I'm starting this whole series in general. Like I said, I have other albums in mind and other ideas in mind for where to take this musically. But let me know what you think. This was kind of a beta test episode. I'm keeping it a little short because I feel like I laid out my ideas. I laid out why. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Give me some feedback. Even if maybe there's an album you think is a little flawed, I can look at it. We can talk about it. I don't know, but I have been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.